Hi, I'm Talicza.
And I'm Rachael, and this is Transatlantic Crime, a true crime podcast that covers stories from each side of the pond. Every week, we will both cover a separate story with a running theme.
Disclaimer, this podcast will contain swearing and details that some people may find offensive. If you are of a sensitive disposition, listener discretion is advised.
Welcome to Transatlantic
Crime. So close.
Okay, well, welcome to this very special episode of Transatlantic Crime, where Rachael is not here, so I've finally dragged Carly Stevens to the mic.
The infamous, apparently.
Housemate and definitely not lesbian lover.
You could do a lot worse.
Definitely could. Probably have. Because this is a special episode, I let you choose the theme, so I knew it was going to be something mental. We've decided on conspiracy theories.
We have. Well, you say we.
You did.
Yeah, I forced your hand towards a topic that I know a lot about.
I was desperate. You got me while I was down.
Oh, thanks.
No, I was like, fuck. I need a theme for this week. And you were like, can we do conspiracy theories? I was like, you can do whatever you want. Just write the story.
You were so surprised that I even said yes. You thought I was going to say no, didn't you? I was really up for it.
Yeah, but like when I originally started this podcast, it was meant to be me and you, and then it ended up being me and Rachael because like I was like scratching around for somebody to do it with me, and you were like, "Nah, it sounds like a lot of work." Turns out it is a lot of work.
I'm glad that I didn't do it because I see how much work you put into it every week, and I just think, no way could I do that every week. Yeah. And plus, the concept works so much better now because of Rachael being in America. You've got a very nice a niche, a USP.
Yeah, we really do. Okay, so without further ado, because mine's pretty fucking long.
Mine's not that long.
Okay, that's what she said. You can go first this week.
So I actually did some research into actually conspiracy theories in general first, because I thought to give some context around conspiracy theories, because I do know about them, but I thought I'll have a little look into actual conspiracy theories in general. But whilst I was doing that, I also found out some interesting links between conspiracy theories and crime. Mm-hmm. So in the British Journal of Social Psychology, apparently conspiracy theorists are more likely to engage in antisocial behaviour and commit low-level crimes like getting replacement items that they don't need or getting refunds from shops they're not entitled to.
Really? That's fucking mad. So
basically, not only are conspiracy theorists fucking mad, they're also fucking stingy.
That's so funny. That's such a good stat.
I know. And apparently, I had to pull out this quote because it fucking made me laugh. So apparently, it also, being a conspiracy theorist, it determines your actual attitude to everyday crime. But it's really widespread, apparently. No matter what conspiracy theory you believe, you are more likely to show a different attitude in everyday crime. And apparently there was this quote on the BBC that's just said, "This suggests that, contrary to popular belief, the typical conspiracy theorist is not a middle-aged man living in his mother's basement sporting a tinfoil hat."
I can't believe the BBC got away with that.
I know. I was like, that's coming from the BBC.
Slammed.
So we know that's obviously not a non-biased piece of journalism.
That's reliable.
But I just thought that was really interesting that actually if you're a conspiracy theorist in general, you are actually more likely to commit crimes of a certain nature, low level.
I guess like you don't believe in, like, some people, I suppose, don't believe in like the fabric of society,
and conspiracy theorists definitely fall into that.
And have like they have like a general antisocial like element to their mind as well.
Yeah, they're kind of nihilistic, aren't they? And
they think
don't trust people.
It's all a big fake, and like I don't know, they can just sort of like fucking.
They don't want to be boxed in.
Well, they can
society's
just like
rules
evaporate out of a prison cell or something.
Oh God, yeah. So yeah,
that is super interesting.
So yeah, I thought that was quite interesting. I thought I'd bring that to the forum.
Mm-hmm.
So conspiracy theories then. So I'm going to be doing around subliminal messaging and crimes that have been related to subliminal messaging. I will say now, for the massive white elephant in the room, I will not be covering the Judas Priest case, because I know that is what you covered with James in one of your previous podcasts.
Yes, we have already covered that one.
Yeah, so I mean, I will touch on it like very lightly, because it's a massive case, but I've got a couple of subliminal messaging crime related stories that aren't the Judas Priest case. But basically, so subliminal messaging actually dates back to 400 BC apparently.
What the fuck? What are they playing it on?
Which is BC, is before Christ. So it makes me think that religion plays a massive part in it somewhere.
Let's go around Methuselah's and crack on the rock or whatever the fuck.
I don't know. Can you see a face in those stones? And I think that might be Jesus'
right. Okay, I get
arse or something.
Yeah.
But anyway. But apparently it didn't actually come into kind of mainstream until the late 1800s, and then in the 1950s it really came to the forefront with a guy called James Vickery, who claimed to boost concession sales at cinemas using subliminal messages in his movies. But it turned out that was a hoax, and he was just mad himself.
Okay.
So as we can see, a nice theme running through here.
There's a bit of a theme.
Theorist equals madness.
Fucking nutbag.
But apparently by that point the damage was already done, and people believed that subliminal messaging worked, and that it was everywhere, and that their brains are being controlled by the government, etc.
That's a lot older than I thought it would be. I thought it just started in the 80s with like the Satanic Panic. I thought that's where subliminal messaging started.
Well, you would think that it would have something to do with the use of technology, because how else are you going to get a message to somebody subliminally? But no, apparently there's three types of subliminal messaging. There's subvisual messages, which is like cues, like flashes that people don't notice. There's subaudible messages, which is low volume cues that remain in the background of louder music and other audio sources. Judas Priest. Yeah. And then there's also backmasking, which is an audio message that records backwards with the intention of playing it forwards to ascribe reverse messages. That's the Judas Priest one. Okay. So yeah, there's kind of three key kind of subliminal messaging branches, as it were, and how you can get subliminal messages out into the public.
Christ, yours is educational. Mine and Rachel,
very educational.
The standard of this is way beyond what me and Rachel would have cracked out, mate. You can tell you've really put the work in.
Well, I thought, because my stories are so short, and I'm a fucking geek for a fact and
mate,
stats.
You've got fucking what's it called?
A bit of non-fiction.
You had a subscription to 40 Times. You're like an expert.
I had to stop that subscription because my magazines were piling up, because I just didn't have enough time to read all this.
I just couldn't get through the bollocks quick enough.
No, I know. The supernatural and paranormal hot topics of the day were piling up, and I just couldn't burn through it quick enough. Funnily enough, though, I found two publications of that in my bedside drawer that I'd not touched out of the, 50 odd that I threw away. And the two that were left, one was about one of the cases I'm going to talk about in terms of subliminal messaging, and the other one was to do with, is Paul McCartney dead? A conspiracy theory. I was like, how bizarre. I was thinking, you could say that was a conspiracy theory in itself.
Exactly. I was going to say, is that a conspiracy theory, or does every issue of the 40 Times contain something mental?
Oh, I mean, they all contain something mental. They're all mental, but I mean, these ones in particular, like they're like cover page spreads, or whatever you want to call them. Their main features of those issues were conspiracy led. I know. So basically, as well, subliminal messaging isn't covered under any law either. So you can.
Why do you think that is?
Well, because it doesn't exist.
Yeah.
And the reason it works is basically because of I guess it's word of mouth, isn't it? It's panic, it's moral panic kind of thing.
I think it's like I was going to say, do you think it's like hypnosis? But I think you're probably more right in that. Wasn't there an experiment once where they said there was 10 people in a room, and they go, somebody would just go, "Can you hear that noise?" or can you smell that? And then afterwards,
was...
people would say, like, no, I couldn't. But because everyone was saying it, I just said it.
Yeah, there's also one where it's there's people in a room and they're all actors but one person, and then smoke starts to come from under the door and none of the actors react, and so the person who is been put there as like the experimented person, you know, the guinea pig, they don't react to it either. So you're very led by other people. You're very led by other people's reactions in things.
Do you feel like you would do that?
People are panicking. Well, I would like to think I wouldn't. I would like to think there's a fucking fire, like that girl did on the bus that exploded near me yesterday.
You could definitely
just drop that in there.
Yeah, exactly.
Just drop that in there.
Maybe that's conspiracy theory.
We're going on a right tangent here, but well, I went to the cafe yesterday to work in their garden because it was so nice, and I've been procrastinating so much at work. Just need to get my head in the game. Sat in the garden, latte, lovely. Heard this bang, didn't think anything of it. Thought probably a car backfiring or a skip lid going down. I don't know.
Or someone getting shot.
Yeah, you know, it's Bedminster. And then I looked up and there was this massive plume of smoke, and the guy who runs the cafe like ran out into the garden and was like, "A bus has exploded! Everyone come look!" I was like,
I really don't think that's in his job description.
No, but I mean, it was pretty quiet in there, so I think he was just grateful for the action.
Yeah.
So we ran out, and literally the back of the bus was ablaze. Jeez. Everyone got off safely, but yeah, just completely ablaze. And then contacted the Bristol Post and various other news outlets when I should have been working. So it was quite the distraction for somebody that was trying not to procrastinate.
And you were credited as well. Basically a journalist now.
I know. Well, you can tell now, can't you, by the in-depth detail I've gone into on this story. See my media roots coming through.
I think the quality shows in the research.
Exactly. So yeah, that happened yesterday. So I'd like to think that if smoke was coming into a room, I would tell somebody. But apparently you're very, very easily led by the actions of other people. So if someone believes, I guess, that there is something subliminal that's causing them to behave a certain way, and they tell somebody else, that person, if they believe them, very well may act out how they are being told the message is telling them to.
I always think that, you know, like Derren Brown and stuff, like for our American listeners, I don't know if he's got to your shores yet. He's a bit like David Blaine, but he does more like social experiments. Like he'll get somebody and then he'll train them for like a couple of months, and he gets into their head and he'll make someone who is just normal be able to then like Houdini themselves out of a bag.
Yeah.
Or look, that wasn't a very good example.
I think he's a genius.
Example?
Well, I think he's a genius. I mean, he did. There was a series called Trick or Treat that he did, where I'm sure he's probably used subliminal messaging in some. He uses subliminal messaging.
He definitely does. He puts up like big posters,
yeah.
doesn't he? That people like go past on their commute, and it's giving them a message that they didn't know that.
Exactly that. So he kind of starts programming people really quietly. So one perfect example of this was when he got some advertisers in and said he wanted them to design a logo for a zoo, and they designed it, and it was like this I think it was like a pet cemetery or something like that. So they designed like these pearly gates with this bear playing a harp and everything, and then Darren revealed his logo and it was exactly the same, and they were like, how the hell did you do that? But then if you look back on their trip to the place where he met them, on the route there was like loads of bears everywhere, like there was harps, there was wings, there was death like wording and stuff. So it was getting into their subliminal mind, you know, what he wanted them to draw. So he definitely uses subliminal messaging in his tricks, and
you could argue that it works.
Well, you could argue that they work, but I think you have to be like predisposed to it, and that's why he picks those people, because he probably understands that they would be, you know, they would react to it, because he wouldn't pick somebody who doesn't have that predisposition. But apparently there isn't any evidence that subliminal messaging works at all in science,
scientific.
And that's why it's not a legal thing.
Okay.
But yeah, apparently as well, if you want the science behind it, it's something to do with your synaptic network in your brain and how that works. Again,
you've gone this is professional. Yeah. This sounds professional.
So before I get into the much anticipated crime element, I also had a little sneaky peek at what in how subliminal messaging is also said to have appeared in pop culture.
Okay.
So number one is Disney. So Disney has shitloads of subliminal messaging, and one of them being The Little Mermaid, right?
Okay.
So they have this thing called the phallic palace.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
So if you have a very specific tape of Little Mermaid, like, you know, VHS, the artwork on the front, apparently the palace has on its turrets, they're just cocks.
There's so many high blokes.
And there's lots of these.
Like, blokes who are just fucking off their face, who have just sat around and just... I just feel like they've dreamed this stuff up. Have you seen the Cock Palace? I mean... Yeah, I know. The Little Mermaid one, not IRL.
I'd love to visit the Cock Palace.
Yeah, it's been a dry winter, hasn't it?
It's been a fucking dry winter. But apparently in the same film, in The Little Mermaid, they've also got the minister's erection. So there's like when they're getting married on the boat, the minister has got like a little boner. Who is looking for that? Who is looking for a boner on a cartoon minister?
Men are so obsessed with cocks. They're more obsessed than women will ever be. It's so weird.
All of these have got to do with sex. So basically, like, everything, all the subliminal messaging within Disney apparently relates back to sex or nudity or whatever, because in Aladdin, apparently if you listen closely, so the Little Mermaid one is more of a visual subliminal message. Yeah. In Aladdin, if you listen carefully to one of the scenes, you can apparently hear someone going, "Take off your clothes."
What?
Like whispering it.
Oh my
know,
God.
It's fucking mad.
If this was
and in The Rescuers,
if this was real though, surely they'd have a YouTube clip. Do they have a YouTube clip?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. There's YouTube clips for all of these, mate. I went down a right hole.
Oh, I bet you did. No wonder you've been procrastinating at work.
Honestly, this week has been a nightmare.
You know what? You must have been so freaked out. You've been doing this shit all week, and then you go outside and a bus explodes.
I know. Honestly, I feel like, you know... Yeah, I feel like I'm in, like, I don't know, like Sliding Doors or Slither or something, where just weird shit keeps happening to me.
Okay, so take off your clothes in Aladdin.
Oh, yeah, and then in Rescuers, there's a naked woman in the window. So when they're flying the albatross, if you pause it, there's a naked woman in the window. And apparently the word sex is written everywhere.
Did you see that?
I did see the naked woman. Yeah, she's there. There's another one as well, which is, what's her name? Jessica Rabbit. If you freeze frame Jessica Rabbit at one point, she's got a twat out. Loads of blokes have done that. Why are blokes obsessed with Jessica Rabbit? Absolutely.
Like, is she a rabbit?
I think she's just...
Or is she a woman?
Yeah.
Has she got like bunny ears?
I think she's a bit half and half. Yeah, I think she... No, do you know what? I think she might actually be a woman.
She's just got a bunny
I think it's just because she was in a
arms.
film. I think it's because she was just in Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
Yeah.
And she was like the formative cartoon for a lot of men of our age.
She did have massive... I mean, she was hot. She did have massive knockers.
Yeah, it was... Everyone cosplays as her.
Yeah,
and stuff.
But... I mean, sometimes I think that's what men want to see that badly, don't they?
You wonder why that we are in the position we are with the patriarchy when you've got the likes of Jessica Rabbit just absent-mindedly flopping her minge out every, you know, in the rest in Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
It's like we're blaming her. Someone did draw her.
Probably a man.
Yeah, definitely a man. Okay, right. So we've got Rabbit Minge. We've got Cock Palace, naked lady, and
cock.
Yeah,
and sex just written everywhere in Disney.
Fair enough.
So the another obviously kind of key driver of subliminal messaging is Stanley Kubrick. So
I can believe that.
Yeah, so he was a master of subliminal encoding, and he used a really unique and complex visual style to encode subtle details to really impact his viewers on a subconscious level. So I, at this point of my research, had to shut the computer down for 5 minutes and make a cup of tea, because there is I mean, obviously, you've seen The Shining, haven't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's the River of Blood scene in The Shining where the elevator opens and the blood comes out.
Yeah.
So apparently, like, Stanley Kubrick was such a perfectionist that scene literally took them the entire time of filming the film to get right. So from the moment they started filming up until it ended, doing all the other scenes, they kept doing that scene over and over and over.
Oh my God, how much fake blood and how much cleaning up.
Yeah, so it was really interesting, the clip that I watched on how they actually made the scene, but that's a different thing altogether. Watch Room 237 if you want to know about that. So
if you want to go mad.
Yeah, so watch Room 237. I think it's Room 237. The story of Stanley Kubrick.
Yeah, it's like a documentary, right?
So,
on the making of The Shining.
Yeah. Making of The Shining, yeah. So because he was such a perfectionist, they believe that the subliminal image in that scene, in that river of blood scene, is purposeful. So when you slow it down, you can see that the door slightly sticks, and then there's like a mound that the blood kind of comes over with like a bit of a sheen on it. So I was like, oh, let's have a look at this then. So I found this video, and it went through it in detail, and then it slowed it down, and then it was bit by bit, and I must have watched this blood scene for about 15 minutes, and I find Stanley Kubrick, especially The Shining, I find it fucking eerie. Like, it doesn't scare me, it like penetrates my soul watching that film.
Yeah,
like it's because it's, I think it's set at like a different pitch, like the score in it is like, it like gets to you.
Yeah,
so I was watching this and I was like, I feel sick, I felt physically sick, and I was like, I'm gonna have to stop watching this.
It is kind of like that much liquid in one go that's not like seawater. Even if it was like soup, it would be gross, but it's blood.
Yeah. I don't think it was real blood, but they didn't use CGI. It was all real. It was like on a miniature set.
Oh, I thought that's
anyway,
so interesting.
Yeah, it's like a miniature set, but the fact that he was such a perfectionist, and because there's these micro kind of flaws in it, he wouldn't have left them in for some unknown reason. So people are thinking that he left them in there for a reason, and that was one of his ways of subliminally encoding something.
So what did you see?
That scene. You can see that the blood is almost going over something, and that there's a very slight sheen to whatever it is, but it's so hidden. Like it's barely recognizable to the naked eye, but it's definitely not the way the blood is flowing, put it that way. Personally, right. I couldn't see much.
Personally, I couldn't see much. Carly's review of fucking Stanley Kubrick's Subliminal Messages.
I couldn't see much. I started to feel a bit gippy. I logged off, and I'm not watching it again for a while because it did make me feel bloody sick. Another whole episode of a series which is to do with subliminal messaging is The X-Files. So this gave me an excuse to go back and watch The X-Files again.
You bloody love it.
I know. Any excuse to watch The X-Files. So there is actually, funnily enough, an episode called Blood.
Stop saying blood, just strangers.
Not a blood theme going on. In the episode, people are prompted by messages from digital appliances with instructions to kill several residents of a small farming community, and they suddenly turn violent and dangerous. So like, one guy's in a lift, and on the lift LED screen it just says can't breathe, and then kill them all. What? Okay. And then oh my god. Yeah, so like this kill them all thing like flashes up in different places to different people, but apparently it's to do with like it's to do with subliminal messaging and getting into their psyche and triggering off their worst fears. So like, he was scared of lifts, another woman was scared of getting raped. And so when she went to the garage...
Sorry, I'm not laughing at the rape, I'm laughing at the lift.
Just to clarify. So she was scared of rape, so she went to the garage to get her car checked, and the guy was like, come back here and I'll show you what's wrong with your car.
Who isn't scared of rape?
Well, I know. I think she was more scared of getting... She was like seeing dangerous situations when potentially she didn't... She was hyper aware. So like... She was then read on this little dash in the car garage, like, kill him. He's lying to you, like, flash up.
To be fair, I don't need to see the flash.
No. But what was really interesting when I rewatched the episode, the main character, he at one point is in a department store, and there's all these TVs, like, you know how they used to display tellies they still do.
When tellies were 10 inches wide.
Yeah. And it starts flickering from one channel to another, and on one channel is Charles Manson. And Charles Manson
Fuck off. So it's like
is one of the people that I will talk about in a minute. Yeah. So he's on there in an interview, potentially talking about the subliminal messaging that he believes led him to do what he did with the Manson murders. So there's like a nice little link that they've put into the X-Files.
How you aren't a conspiracy theorist, I don't know.
I'm not at all, but I just love hearing about them.
No, I know you're not. Otherwise, I wouldn't be friends with you. But you, like... I'd tell you to get out this fucking house. But you read so... But to be fair, that's like saying, like, I read so much true crime, but I'm not a murderer.
Exactly.
I'm not a policeman.
No.
Doesn't mean just because you're interested in it that it automatically that you believe in it or that you're going to do it.
No, exactly. Yeah, I could never be a conspiracy theorist because I tried to read David Icke's book. I think I got about 10 pages in and it's actually unreadable. Like, I
remember you saying that.
Like the words make sense, but not in the way he's written them. It's like if a lion could speak English, you wouldn't understand what it could say. I was like, I kind of got. I mean, you all know about. Everyone knows about David Icke and the fact that he thinks that there are lizard people. I think most people know. For people that don't know,
I think the lizard people theory is quite widespread.
That one is, yeah.
Do you know what though? It was pretty fucking. Oh, do you know what? We can't get on this.
No, we can't. No, we can't. But anyway, the point is, I couldn't be a conspiracy theorist because it put me in the same category of the public as David Icke and his little cronies, and I couldn't bear that because that book was just interminable.
Drivel.
Yeah. And when we run out of that horrible aloe vera bog roll, we've got David Icke's book. So there we go.
Oh yeah, me and Carly have aloe vera bog roll. It's given us both thrush.
Yeah. Don't.
Just as an FYI, if anyone's thinking of buying lovely Andrex aloe vera bog roll to be fancy,
for those of you who
that thing will fuck up your pH.
Yeah, for those of you who own vulvas, stay clear of aloe vera.
It's not the one.
So and so the other one I pulled out, which I think you'll enjoy, is in the young ones. They have a lot of subliminal images in the young ones. They kind of splice it in different scenes.
They do.
So I think that's like a narrative and a kind of cultural link to the whole
like commentary.
Exactly the word I was looking for on subliminal messaging. So one of them is a tree frog jumping through the air, a man gurning, and then at the end credits of the film Carry On Cowboy. And yes, it was a mock on the occurring theme of subliminal messages in television. So that's kind of some ways where places have been using pop culture.
I think it's because, so for anyone who doesn't know what The Young Ones is, it's basically a British programme that's got Rick Mayall and Adrian Edmondson in it, who are like a comedy duo that are very famous in England. Rick Mayall's dead now, unfortunately.
R.I.P.
But they started, I know, R.I.P. Rick. Ruined my holiday, that did, finding out he was dead. And yeah, they basically started a programme called The Young Ones, which was really controversial at the time. Like, it was on BBC 2 or 1?
Probably BBC 2.
Which was super conservative.
Yeah, no, I think it would have been...
that was a bit more trendy,
yeah,
wasn't it?
I think the reason it was such a smash was because it was kind of a cult following. There was a lot of like very wholesome British sitcoms on telly at the time in the 70s and early 80s, and it was really kind of just like near the knuckle, very very sort of surreal comedy that really appealed to the anarchy of the UK culture,
but also very childish.
Yes,
like
yeah, it was definitely
like they fart and like hit each other.
I mean, like
have talking vegetables.
Yeah, there's puppetry in it. It's almost like multimedia series, like entertainment.
It's kind of Python-esque, isn't it? Monty Python.
It is in a way.
It borrows a lot of stuff from that. Like,
yeah,
it was basically just like this amazing show, and they had. What was it you told me? The fact about they had music.
Yeah,
on
so
there.
they pitched themselves as a variety show that would have a band on every week because they got more budget to make the show, which meant that they could do more extreme stunts, they could have more props, they could have explosives, they could have more than your average sitcom could. So they had to have a band on every week, which is why you had the likes of Motorhead and Madness and
amazing bands.
Yeah, lots of bands from that era that would come on and do a set just so they could get their extra bit of cash to put towards,
which is so cool,
the production of the show, which is very clever, very clever.
Yeah.
And I think also added to the appeal of this kind of, you know, really, it was for the teens of the time, and parents hated it, and kids loved the fact that their parents hated it and didn't want them to watch it. And I think having the subliminal messaging in there, really, it was a commentary on that time of the year, like the satanic panic thing.
It was a finger up to parents, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Because like parents would go, "Oh my God, it's got subliminal messaging in it. Like you're going to become a Satanist," and they were like, "It's a frog."
Yeah.
Like, basically.
No, exactly.
Yeah, it was great.
Exactly. So, in terms of how subliminal messaging has been used in crime cases, so there's a couple of like ways in which it's been used. So, one in which it's been used to commit a crime, or it's been accused of being, you know, it's been said to be the reason why somebody committed a crime. It's also been used to try and solve a crime as well. So, as I'm sure your lovely listeners and yourself obviously are aware that's in
oh golly, flattery will get you everywhere.
That in 1978 Wichita, Kansas. What does that tell you? Who am I going to be talking about if I say 1978 Wichita, Kansas?
BTK.
Well done. A little pop quiz for you there.
Yeah.
So
no problem.
So
just warming me up.
In 1978, Cake TV, which is the Kansas news television station, received special permission from the police to place a subliminal message in a report on the BTK killer. And
oh my God, I think I remember this.
That was in an effort to get him to turn himself in, because they believed it might work on him or whatever. So the message was a pair of glasses, pair of upturned glasses, and they used those because when BTK murdered Nancy Fox, a pair of glasses were lying upside down on her dresser, and they thought he might make that connection to him. And it also said
that's a fucking stretch.
I know. Well, as we know, it doesn't work anyway, so we could put fucking anything there.
Yeah.
And it said also on there, "Now call the chief." So okay. So I think the reason they put the glasses there was they thought it would stir up remorse. They thought that he would then see that and go, "Oh, call the chief, dob myself in." But
I think they're really overestimating BTK's intelligence.
Or the fact that he was going to tune in on that day to that news article.
Yeah, on that specific day to that specific news. Yeah, it's very. I mean, you're really chancing it. It's not like you could do like on demand and play it back.
You're not casting.
It was TV when TV.
Yeah, you're not casting your net very.
Sorry,
I was going to say you're not casting your net very far, are you?
Unless you play that every day for the next week, then the chances of him seeing it, like he could just go for a shit and he would miss that news broadcast forever.
Funny you should say that, because I watched the clip of them doing the news broadcast with the subliminal messaging whilst I was typing this up. And as I was watching it, I had an email notification pop up, which I glanced at for literally a millisecond and I missed it. So
I thought...
So it really was.
I thought you were going to say, funny you should say that, when I was writing this, I was taking a shit.
No. It was like...
I was like, oh my God.
No.
Are you subliminal messaging me? Have you been putting pictures of shits around the house? I've just been seeing.
And that's why you can't go.
Yeah. Oh yeah, sorry, I'm a bit constipated this week. There's nothing holy between me and Carly. We live in the same house. We've known each other for like 30 fucking years. So it's just
I quite literally know all your movements.
Yeah, it's almost we're doing nothing to stop the lesbian rumours yet again.
But no,
yeah, sorry.
So
you missed an email just by glancing away.
No. So it's funny that you say that he was relying on him seeing it and he could have gone to the shitter and missed it, because it really was a blink and you miss it moment, because I literally looked down at my email notification pop up, looked back and I'd missed it, and I had to go back.
Fuck.
I had to go back and I was like, for fuck's sake, I've just missed it, because it literally is like a millisecond. But then when they slowed it.
Is that the official term?
Yeah. but then when I watched it again, in the latter part of the video, they slow it down And it was such a fucking hack job. Like, you can't even read it properly. Like, it's so bad. Like, so not only if he had like blinked, gone to the shitter, sneezed, he would have missed it.
Sneezed?
Yeah. If he would have missed it. And if he had seen it, he wouldn't have been able to fucking read it, because I couldn't read it.
I mean, the 70s were wild. Like, people were fucking doing MK Ultra. Like, that's another conspiracy theory, isn't it? Where they were giving people that. Actually, that did happen, but like giving people acid and stuff. But yeah, the 70s was wild. Like, they thought that truth serum existed, and
which is probably why they thought this fucking cock
shit would work.
Yeah, this fucking hokey bloody.
That's not police work.
No. I mean, it's obviously, yeah. I think they were clutching at straws, and they picked the short one. So yeah, definitely didn't work. But I thought that was.
They're like, right, we're going with Gary's idea, are we?
Yeah, like, it's 5 to 5 on a Friday.
Pair of glasses in the news.
It's 5 to 5 on a Friday. I want to go down the pub. How are we going to catch this guy? I know, sir.
Sure.
Sir, I know.
Gary, go
I know,
for
sir.
it.
Subliminal messaging. What? All right then, fine. Fucking hell, let's just do it. I'm clocking off.
I'll sign the bit of paper. Just let me out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, so I thought I'd bring that one in. But I suppose the main one really that I've covered is around the Manson case. So, Charles Manson. So, Manson committed a string of murders on the 8th of August, 1969. He killed Sharon Tate and 4 others, including a coffee heiress, Abigail Folgers. And he also killed Lino and Rosemary LaBlanca 2 days later.
Yes.
He also killed Gary Hinman, and who was a musician, and Donald Shea, who was a horse wrangler. And they were murdered on 2 separate occasions.
Was he at the Sharon Tate house, or was that completely different?
Those two people were killed in 2 separate incidences, so I don't believe that they were.
I didn't actually know about all those victims, to be honest. So this is going to be quite educational.
Yeah, so he killed Sharon Tate is obviously the most famous, as well as 4 others, and yeah, they included the heiress and these 4 other people 2 days later. But it was I think we both know about Charles Manson and the murders that he committed. Well, he didn't commit them. That's the thing, isn't it?
It's one of the weirdest things about the conviction, because it's like everyone was like, "Oh, he's pure evil," and his defense was, "I didn't actually kill anyone,"
No.
Which is kind of a good defense. And for the 70s, like, it's pretty forward thinking for them to say that coercive control was a thing.
Yeah. And this is
like, obviously his followers got equally as punished, but I thought it was quite progressive that they recognised how dangerous he was.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that goes hand in hand with his explanation for the murders, which was that he did it because of subliminal messages that were given to him in the Beatles' White Album.
Oh, yeah.
So he believed that there were messages specifically just for him in the songs Blackbird, Piggies, Revolution 1 and Revolution 9. But most significantly, he mentioned in his trial that the song Helter Skelter by the Beatles, which of all the Beatles songs, and I'm not a massive Beatles fan, I actually quite like that song.
My favourite is Blackbird.
Oh, right, okay. Well,
it's beautiful.
Yeah. I mean, he thinks that in these songs there were specific messages for him, telling him to do what he did, but also that there was going to be this uprising. It was to incite a race war, basically. So on his trial, Manson is quoted as saying this. So It is a conspiracy that the music is telling the youth to rise up against the establishment because the establishment is rapidly destroying things. The music speaks to you every day, but you are too deaf, dumb, and blind to even listen to the music. These kids listen to this music and pick up the messages. It's subliminal. It's not my music. I hear what it relates. It says rise. It says kill. Why blame it on me? I didn't write the music. So he's basically...
Oh, he's such a jumped up little fucking Napoleon fucker, isn't he? I hate him. I hate him.
I know. So he's basically saying that this album incited a race war, and that Helter Skelter specifically helped to serve the inspiration for the spree that ended in 9 murders. He also says that words death to pigs and rise were written in Lino LeBlanca's blood on the living room walls, and Helter Skelter, which he spelt wrong, fucking idiot, was scrawled in blood on the refrigerator door. So that's kind of how he kind of linked why he was doing it, with the murder scene. So,
well, if he had a fucking brain in his nut, he'd be denying it.
Well, this made me think. Actually, did he write that, or did the people? Did his family, in quotations, write that? Because the cult, he was never even at the murder scenes. So the cult wrote it, but he had been drumming it into them for the past couple of years while they were all on acid and fucking each other and being like starved and kept up for days and not allowed to speak to, like, it was classic like cult tactics. So he took all their money. He didn't let them speak to their family. They were all fucking each other, and they were off their face on drugs. Yeah.
So
they obviously...
He was drumming that into them.
Yeah, so they obviously must have known the link between the songs and what Manson believed they were saying for them to then write in blood on the walls the words that he had said.
Yeah, he would go on like 4-hour rants.
Yeah.
And everyone would just be sat around listening because they were just
sounds like some people I know at a party.
Fuck me.
A couple of bottles of wine and a few spliffs, and they're just like on repeat. No, naming no names. So during Manson's family trial, his prosecutor Vincent Bugliosi, I'm pronouncing that right?
Yeah.
Apparently had a really difficult task to prove conspiracy to murder, because Manson had never held a weapon in the murders, let alone plunged a knife into anybody. So when Manson took the stand, in his defense, he said that the children, in brackets, were listening to the music and it told them what to do. And Bugliosi, I can't get his name right. Bugliosi, that's it. Effectively argued that Manson had a really twisted misinterpretation of the lyrics and had taught his followers that the music was filled with these subliminal messages and symbols, and that they all pointed to this one goal, which was the uprising and a bloody apocalyptic race war. And then when that race war and apocalypse didn't come soon enough, that was when Manson felt he had to move it along and do something witchy, was what he said.
Oh my god!
Which sounds like,
also, it's like,
which sounds like a teenager.
It really does. Also, the fucking Beatles were bigger than Jesus. Every person in the world pretty much has heard of them, and maybe heard that album. So they didn't go around murdering people.
No.
So that makes me think you're probably talking bollocks.
So apparently, Paul McCartney had something to say on this, as obviously you'd imagine Paul McCartney do, who apparently is dead anyway. So, and it's not Paul McCartney, it's some other guy, and I can't now for the life of me remember what his name is. Basically, Paul McCartney's meant...
Paul McCartney does look like an old woman now. I get that, but...
Paul McCartney is meant to have died and been replaced by Billy Shears. That's his name. He's meant to have been replaced by someone called Billy Shears.
Who the fuck is Billy Shears?
Apparently he won a Paul McCartney lookalike contest, and then Paul McCartney died.
Well, isn't that handy?
Paul McCartney died, and then apparently this Billy Shears guy is actually Paul McCartney. That's a whole conspiracy theory on its own. So...
Oh my god, like... Honestly, conspiracy theories, and I believe this about every conspiracy theory, what's the end goal? Like,
well, this is the thing.
why?
So one of the podcasts I listened to covered that conspiracy theory, and you know, the premise is that one believes and one doesn't. And the one that doesn't was saying, so what happened to Billy Shears' family then? Did they just get told that he's died because now he's being Paul McCartney?
You could probably prove that he's not dead.
Yeah, well, yeah, because you would need a death certificate for Billy Shears around the same time that Paul McCartney was apparent to die.
Oh, for God.
It's getting very convoluted.
People are so
isn't
bored.
it? Yeah, exactly. So anyway, so Paul McCartney said that it was an innocent song about a playground slide, Helter Skelter that is, and that he was using the symbol of a helter skelter as a ride from the top to the bottom, the rise and fall of the Roman Empire. This was the demise, the going down. You could have thought of it as a rather cute title, but it's since taken all sorts of ominous overtones because Manson picked it up as an anthem. Bloody Manson, what is he like?
Also...
You cheeky devil.
Bloody Manson.
Manson. Can you not, Manson? Stop. Can you just, stop picking it up?
Give it a rest.
But, so yeah. So, Bryony Fox, who was the assistant I can't say these long words, criminology professor at the university.
You can say that.
I always get so, tongue-tied. So, she's at the University of South Florida and the editor of the Journal of Criminal Psychology. She said that Manson became fascinated with the White Album, which is what the songs Helter Skelter were on in the late 1960s. And she said that while he previously was most interested in his music career and engaging in group sex with his family members, Manson's attention turned to the lyrics of the Beatles songs to guide his family and the purpose for their future. But also, when Manson was in jail, the old subliminal messaging didn't stop at the door. So...
Oh, okay. He managed to get hold of some Beatles LPs, did he?
Yeah, in a cake. He tried to use coded messages in recorded interviews to program his followers to break him out of jail. And to learn basically where the vents were to get in and out of the building and to set him free. So there is a recording of him in these interviews, and he says in it, this is so fucking stupid, right? He says.
Right. Also, he's the size of a thumb. He slid out the vents himself. He didn't even want to break it out.
So apparently, in his interview, this was his coded message to get him out of jail, right, to his followers. I mean, to be honest, it's not particularly subliminal. What I'm about to read, so he might have been rumbled anyway. So,
right, okay.
We are sneaking in the county jail, looking under the door to see if the man is there. Sneaking like little children out of town. Sneaking all around the courthouse. Sneaking everywhere. Everything is sneaky.
Oh God, this is like a Dr. Seuss poem.
Everything is sneaky up in Sneakyville. You got to sneak to get the truth.
Oh my God.
The truth is condemned. The truth is in the gas chambers.
He is such a, oh my God, what am I looking for? The word, a hack. He's such a hack.
I kind of want to get the words, everything is sneaky up in Sneakyville tattooed on me.
Yep, that sounds like Sneakyville.
Or I might just use it as like a turn of phrase nowadays. Like, yeah, everything's sneaky up in Sneakyville. Or like after really good sex, you could just be like, yeah, everything's sneaky up in Sneakyville.
Oh, he's so cringe.
Sneaking in my vent. So yeah, that was...
Mate, Charles Manson could sneak through a fucking HB pencil. He's tiny.
Still alive? Is he still alive?
No, he died not long ago.
No, I thought he was dead. So no, the only other thing was because I feel like I have to kind of do it justice, really, because it is one of the biggest subliminal messaging crime cases is Judas Priest. Obviously, as I say, you did do it with James, but for those people that didn't listen to James and you, because it was a Patreon episode, wasn't it?
I think it was a Patreon episode originally, but we did release it, so you can go back and find it in the normal feed.
Yeah. So I mean, basically with that one, the band Judas Priest covered in the 1990s. They covered a 1978 song called "Better by You, Better Than Me," originally by a band called Spooky Tooth, which.
Yes,
very odd
name. That.
Very odd name. Yeah.
Very weird.
But apparently that song had subliminal messaging in it and was used in the trial and the lawsuit against the band as to being the reason why James Vance and Ray Belknap decided to form a suicide pact and shoot themselves. So the case was eventually dismissed. Spoiler alert. But apparently the hidden messages,
obviously,
the hidden messages in it were, do it, let's be dead, and try suicide.
Fuck me. What? I mean, can you imagine? Like, we've covered this in the episode, but basically, Judas Priest go, why would we want our fans to kill themselves?
Exactly.
We need their money.
Exactly. So yeah, I mean,
it's a bit fucking counterproductive, isn't it?
No, exactly. But I when I was looking this up, I thought, I'll look into the Judas Priest case, because I do know about it, and I thought, it is one of the biggest ones when it comes to, when you think of crime and subliminal messaging, you think Judas Priest. And I remember looking at the photo of I think it's James Vance who survived, and
he did, yeah,
and hit the aftermath of that. And I mean, yeah, you would definitely sue, having been left with...
Well, your mum would sue.
Yeah, having been left with that...
He didn't. I think it was his parents, right?
I think, yes, it was their parents, that took them to court. But
angry and looking for somebody to blame.
Yeah, absolutely.
But basically, it's just like, there's a few lessons to learn from this.
Don't use a shotgun to blow your face off.
If you're going to use a shotgun to blow your face off, fucking make sure you don't miss. Because he not only survived, but half his fucking face was missing.
I know.
It was absolutely...
awful.
It's a horrific photo, isn't it? Like, I
wasn't expecting
I'm
it.
a bit of a... Really?
No, because I knew about the case, but I actually didn't think that one of them had said... I know that he is now dead. He died 3 years after he originally tried to commit suicide. But I didn't realise that he had survived the initial suicide attempt.
It's a fucking miracle that he survived.
Yeah. So when I Googled it to look into it, it came up, and I was like, oh, holy Jesus.
It's bad.
Really bad. Really bad.
Yeah, don't look at it before you eat your dinner, would be my advice.
No.
It's pretty graphic.
But yeah, so yeah, I mean, they're the kind of main cases, really. There was one other around some Turkish brothers that apparently used subliminal messaging to start a coup. But there doesn't actually seem to be... There doesn't...
Just throw that in there.
Just chuck that in there. There doesn't actually seem to be that many cases of crime related to subliminal messaging, which surprises me, because it's not... It could be used quite easily because it's not...
I think we put
illegal.
The kibosh on that. I think everyone was like, it's not real. Don't blame that.
Yeah, I think the fact
we won't believe you.
That science, it doesn't hold up the science doesn't hold up. That's probably helped people not to say, I was coerced into doing it because of subliminal
the record
messaging.
Made me do it.
Yeah, like, obviously people can obviously claim madness and whatnot.
To be honest, I think Manson probably ruined it for everyone.
I think Manson ruined a lot of things for a lot of people.
So do I.
Including beards and long hair.
Oh, well, I didn't ruin that for me. I'm still very much into it, unfortunately. So...
Go on then, you crack on. I'm looking forward to this.
You fucking will be. I feel like you know who I'm going to do.
I don't. I have no idea. I have not. This is the thing. When we said, let's do conspiracy theories, crimes based around conspiracy theories, I couldn't really think of anything that could potentially be a crime that relates to a conspiracy theory apart from subliminal messaging. So I actually don't... I have no idea.
Okay, well, it's not technically a crime, but it's just a mental conspiracy theory that I wanted to talk about. Okay, so I'm going to talk about David Icke.
Hey, fantastic.
That's who I've been working on this whole time, next to you.
What a seamless link from earlier.
I know, right? When you started talking about it earlier, I was like, shut up. I was quite interested to hear about where the fuck David Icke crawled out from, because I know nothing about him. All I know is that he writes mental books, and I don't know how much you know about him. You know loads?
I know a small amount based on the 10 pages of his book that I managed to read, without casting it aside in utter disgust at the fact that it was just gibberish.
Yeah.
So no, I know a little bit, but I'm interested to hear it again, because I did read it during lockdown 2020, and obviously a lot has happened since then. So it's been shoved out of my brain to make way for other information.
Well, I'll say this as well. I looked at the book because you brought it down and you were like, look at this. This is, I mean, you were like, am I going mad or is this crackers? And I was like, no, I mean, what the fuck?
Yeah. The sketches are a personal highlight for me in that book. The sketches are a personal highlight for me in that book.
Yeah, I mean, he uses sketches as evidence, and I'm like, that's a drawing. Yeah. That's not a photo. That's not evidence. So,
and that's what I love about conspiracy theories. Like, you get the same with people that believe in aliens. Can I just caveat that I do believe in aliens? I don't believe they've been here, but I do believe in them.
Yeah, you love it.
But it's like whenever you see images of people that say they've been abducted or whatever, it's always little coloured drawings. It's like, lovey, that's a little drawing. It's not.
Never got a photo.
No, keep a camera by your bed. Keep a camera
or a video.
You get got a video. Yeah, you get quite a big indication when you're going to be abducted, because you kind of get like your bed rattles. There's a bright shining light. You've got time.
Supposedly,
you've got time to grab your Kodak. So bring.
No, there was no time, Carly. There was no time.
Bring it with you.
I'm gonna have to draw you a picture on a post-it.
It just reminds me of that documentary I watched about a guy who does paintings of the alien beings that he's had sex with. That's a whole other story.
Where do you find it? Right. Okay. So for me, this personally did break down his theories into something more understandable. Like you say, the books themselves, when you try and read them, are utter horseshit, and
it's because he's written them.
Yeah,
it's because he's written them, and he's just I don't know if unreadable is the right word. It's just I found it very hard to understand what he was trying to say.
Yeah, but he would be the sort of person that'd be like, that's because you're not on the same plane as me. Like some of my ex-boyfriends. So basically, right, David Vaughan Icke was born on the 29th of April 1952 in Leicester. So for anyone that's not from the UK, Leicester is east of Birmingham, and it's just literally bang in the middle of England. So his parents
been to Leicester?
No, I haven't. No, why would I go there? So his parents were Beric Vaughan Icke and Barbara J. Cook, who got married in 1951. His dad was awarded an OBE, so a knighthood. So his dad was a Sir.
What for?
Well, actually, it's pretty noble. So he was a World War II aircraftman in the Royal Air Force, and he got it for his bravery when he rescued a comrade from a burning plane.
That is pretty admirable.
Yeah, it is pretty admirable. And then he became a clerk in a clock factory. So
his dad got awarded an OBE by the Queen, I assume.
King at the time.
King.
Yeah.
And so in David Icke's eyes, his dad got awarded an OBE by a lizard.
Technically, yeah. That's a good point. Never even thought of that. So David was the middle of three boys, and they were all born 7 years apart. The difficult middle child. They lived on a poverty-stricken estate in Leeds in the 50s. Him and his siblings all recall having to hide away from the rent man because they had such little money.
I had to do that when I was a kid.
Yeah, we've all been there. So, David, you're not special. We were all poor.
Yeah, I had to hide in the bath from the bailiffs once. I didn't turn out believing in bloody lizard men and in whatever it is else he believes in.
Exactly, grow up. So at school, he wasn't very good. He wasn't a very good scholar. No shock there.
Quay Sapri.
Yeah.
Quay Sapri.
But he turned out to be a great goalie in football, and he saw this as his way out of poverty. So in 1967, he left school at 15 after being talent spotted by Coventry City Football Club. And he was signed up as the youth team's goalkeeper. He had some high-profile games as an adult, and he even played in the English Football League. And in May 1971, he met his first wife, Linda, at a dance. And just 4 months later, they got married. Because Jesus. I suppose those were the days when if you want to shag someone, you want to marry them, basically.
Didn't fuck around, did he?
No.
I expect he was like, I've got a woman who's going to... I better marry her before she finds out how fucking mental I am. She can't escape.
he kind of seems like there's a massive turning point in his life where he just all of a sudden goes mad. So he was developing arthritis in his knees and his wrists, which interfered with his football career. And at the age of 21 in 1973, he said that he was in agony every time that he played football, so he was forced to quit. He then found a job as a sports reporter with the local paper. And this led to him working for BBC Leicester as a sports reporter. He had quite a prestigious sports journalism career. And in March 1975, he and Linda welcomed their first child, a daughter. And they don't name her, probably because her dad's a fucking nut job and she doesn't want to be involved. So
I expect she's called something like Angoria or something.
Crystalia
Roswell.
Yeah, the Roswell incident. So in
Roswell Icke.
Yeah, probably. Do you know what? We could easily find out his kids' names.
Oh yeah,
but it's not their fault. Their dad's a fucking shithead. Trying to help with his arthritis pain, David started looking into alternative medicine and New Age philosophies in the 80s.
There we go.
Why couldn't you just get into Tupperware like everyone else? Or smoking? Or
those trousers that used to rip off with the poppers down them.
Yeah, or shell suits. Although he did like a shell suit. He also joined the Green Party, which in 1980 is quite forward. Yeah, it's quite forward thinking in 1980. And he became
at least he wasn't a Tory. I'm surprised he wasn't a Tory.
I'm surprised he wasn't a Tory. But he became a spokesperson within 6 months. So they were chuffed to have this prestigious journalist on board.
You know what that tells me though? The fact he was a journalist, prestigious journalist, did well in that. Then he was 6 months in, and then he was what did you say he was called for the
became
Green Party?
spokesperson.
A spokesperson. You can see here it's sewing the threads of somebody that's got the gift of the gab.
Loves the sound of their own voice. I mean, I can fucking talk, but yeah.
Yeah, but you're not spouting bullshit most of the time.
For the most part. So in 1983, he co-hosted his own sports show for the BBC, and he also published his first book that year. The title of the book was "It's a Tough Game, Son." It's about how to break into football. So that's quite nice, I think, for young people to read, unless he's slipping weird shit in there, which he probably was.
But again, it's written by David Icke.
Again,
so I wouldn't have my son reading that.
Bollocks.
Yeah, just probably a load of waffle.
Yeah. He worked for BBC Sports until 1988, but he complained that the people on TV were insecure, shallow, and vicious.
Well, it's got a fair point there.
I mean, yeah, probably does. So in 1989, he released a second book named It Doesn't Have to Be Like This. The titles of his books are so funny.
Why? What was that about?
It was about his green politics. So it's kind of ramping up in terms of opinion pieces.
Yes.
So around this time, he became really depressed. And he wrote that he began to feel a presence around him. And one day, he was in a shop, and a force and a voice guided him towards some books. And one of them was Mind to Mind by an English psychic healer and spiritualist, Betty Shine. Have you heard of her?
No, I haven't heard of her. No.
No, me neither.
That's very telling, though. If he was in the midst of a depression,
that's when you reach for shit.
You reach for the things that are going to help. Yeah, you're in a vulnerable state. You're going to reach for something that is going to help you and help guide you and make you understand why you are in the place you're in.
Why is this happening to me? I'm
exactly,
special.
and the fact that he's a man, he's very unlikely to deal with those mental health problems in a way that a woman probably would, which is going to counselling, getting treatment, etc., etc. He probably latched on to something. Yeah, he's latched on to something like that. I've been guilty of it. I mean, I've got my spiritualist elements to me, and there are things that I do practice and I do believe. But a lot of that has, and I will hold my hands up and say a lot of that has to become on the back of things that have happened to me in my life, and it gets stronger around times of my life when I'm going through real mental turmoil and hardship.
But
So,
I think that's okay as long as you don't try and make other people believe it as well.
yeah, I mean, there's one thing that, you decide to start to use crystals to help your healing because your mother's died. And then there's another thing where you start to believe that, there are these omnipotent lizard people in human skin suits that are trying to rule the world, and you want to get everyone on board.
Yes, but as I studied him, it kind of becomes a bit more easy to understand when you get to the root of his beliefs. Okay. So he said that a voice guided him towards one of the books, and it was a book by an English psychic healer called Betty Shine, who lived in Brighton. So he read the book, and then he wrote to her requesting a consultation about his arthritis. So you can kind of see, he'd had this illustrious football career that he thought was going to save him, and then he had this journalism career, but really his passion was football, but then he couldn't do that anymore because of arthritis. So he's lost something big, like you say. He's vulnerable. So apparently him and Betty met 4 times, and during the 3rd meeting, which was on the 29th of March 1990, David said that he felt something like a spider's web on his face. Probably was a spider's web.
I was going to say. Some kids at Halloween with some silly string.
If you're at some mental woman's house in Brighton, it's probably a spider's web. And then Betty told him that she had a message from the spirit world from someone called Wang Yi Li. And the message, it fucking rabbles on. So I basically, when I was writing this last night, I felt like I was going mad. So,
well, this is how I felt when I was watching the fucking River of Blood scene in The Shining. I was like, I've got to switch this off.
It fucking sucks
gets
you
under
in.
your skin. It gets under your skin and makes you feel weird.
Yeah, so I had to put this into bullet points, right? Because it was such a rambling message. So these are the 7 bullet points.
It can't be any worse than messages that you and I have left one another whilst drunk, surely.
To be fair, they're sort of similar. So, so she said to him that you've been sent to heal the earth. That was the first thing she said. The second thing she said was that you're going to become famous, but you're going to face opposition.
This is so generic. This is so generic and
unprovable.
It's like cold reading, isn't it?
It really is cold reading.
That could be interpreted into any way.
It really could. So the third one, the spirit world was going to pass ideas to him, which he would pass on. Well, she's doing that apparently anyway. So she's kind of like confirming her own.
Pop just ate itself there, really, didn't it?
Yeah, she's like confirming her own. What's it called? Integration into his story. She also said.
Also, it's meaning that she's getting herself a repeat customer there. It's like she needs a bit of. She needs
if you
a bit
come
of money.
back to me, I'll let you know what they say.
Yeah. 50 quid at the door. Cash only. Avoid the tax man.
So she also said, you're going to write 5 books in 3 years. We'll see. So she also said, So in 20 years, this was one of the more outlandish ones.
Yeah.
Right, so all the other ones are like, okay, maybe. But this one, in 20 years, a new flying machine would let us go wherever we want.
Well, when was this?
This was 1990. Yeah.
So 2020 then.
2010.
Well, I can tell. Oh, 2010. Okay, I was going to 1990. Yeah, but she said 20 years from 1990.
Which is 2010.
Oh, which is 2010. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, so there was no new flying machines in 2010, was there?
I don't know. I don't follow the aviation industry. There probably was a new kind of Boeing. I don't know.
Drones?
Drones? She then... probably. She then... I mean, technology moves on, for fuck's sake.
Well, yeah.
Betty, like...
I'm not defending Bet. Don't get me wrong. I'm not defending her. I'm just trying to get... No, I'm just trying to think. Was there actually, some kind of aeronautical design that came around in 2010?
I would like to think in 20 years they would develop something in the flying industry.
Yeah.
No, anyway.
She was hedging her bets there, wouldn't she?
She really was with these 7 points. So number 6 is time would have no meaning. That's relative.
Well, that was 2020, wasn't it?
That was the last 2 years.
Jesus Christ, Bet! You got fucking.
Oh my God, she's
got
right.
You got the nail on the head there, Bet.
Number 7. There would be earthquakes in unusual places.
Like.
Didn't
fridge?
Didn't specify. Because the inner earth was being destabilised by having oil taken from under the seabed. So I think that's kind of like a commentary on fracking. You know, when they...
Yeah. Well, that would have been happening 20 years ago, wouldn't it? That would have been happening
probably.
back then, fracking. So these so these are all very generic statements that probably will happen, was kind of already happening. And that whole thing about him, he's going to write 5 books in 3 years. If someone tells you you're going to write 5 books in 3 years and you believe that horse shit, you're gonna.
Yeah. And he fucking does, and they're all horse shit. So...
Yeah, you're fucking scraping the fucking bottom of his arse to get him out, but he fucking did it.
You honestly want to hear the bollocks he comes out with. So in August that year, he was fired from the BBC because he refused to pay poll tax, saying that he was willing to go to prison for the cause.
Yeah, I think I remember something about that. Yeah,
he didn't go to prison.
Explain what
he just paid it.
Oh, yeah. What an anarchist!
He's like, I'm willing to go to prison for this. Right, go to prison. No, I'll pay it.
You might want to explain what poll tax is.
Yeah, so poll tax is basically something that Margaret Thatcher brought in, and it is, I think it was Margaret Thatcher, but
yeah, she did. Yeah,
it's basically everybody pays the same amount of tax no matter what you earn. That's poll tax. It's been around.
That's now abolished.
It's been around for hundreds of years. They used to do it in like Rome.
We don't have it. We don't have it anymore.
No, we have it on a sliding scale of however much you earn. That's how much you pay. So he paid it rather than go to prison because he's a fucking pussy. So
fucking hell. I would have had a bit of respect for him if he hadn't paid it.
I know, right?
I'd be like, do you know what, David? Good on you. You didn't pay your poll tax because it's an unfair scheme. But he fucking paid it.
I know, you're a fanny.
It's got literally no redeeming features.
I know, spineless. This same month, he met a woman called Deborah Shaw, who was an English psychic based in Canada. The next year, in February 1991, David wrote that he visited a burial ground in Peru, and he felt drawn to a particular circle of stones. He said this is all his own words, he said his body shook and loads of new ideas poured into him. And he'd reached a higher level of consciousness. And when he returned from Peru, he started a relationship with Deborah Shaw.
So basically, the reason that he did that then was so he could get his leg over.
Yeah, so he could come back and go to his wife, listen, the stone said I should pork Deborah Shaw. his wife went, all right, fair enough. Because it's apparently with the blessing of his wife. So
the stones have spoken.
The stones
I need to shag Shaw.
I need to bone Deborah Shaw. So they basically became like a triad. So she began living with the couple just a month later. And then it kind of turned into like a mini cult. So Deborah changed her name to Mary Shawson, and his wife Linda became Michaela, which she said was inspired by the Archangel Michael. A bit of kind of weird religious biblical shit thrown in there as well.
So are they polyamorous at this point then?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Although I don't think Linda's allowed to fuck anyone else. I think just David's allowed to fuck Deborah, and maybe made them les off a bit. I'm not sure. So at this time, David resigned from the Green Party during a party conference, stating that he was
he was still working for them. That's why they hadn't sacked him off as well.
He said he was about to be the centre of a tremendous and increasing controversy, which got a standing ovation.
Who was standing for that?
I think they thought he meant, I'm going to handcuff myself to a plane or something, like, for their cause. What he meant was, I'm going to act like a mentalist in public. So
he's going to do a John and Yoko and not get out of bed.
Yeah, so, I mean, this is like the classic somebody falling into a conspiracy, like, something happens in their life and then they go and do something mad. So a week later, his father died.
Oh.
So
yeah,
then,
it's all adding up. It's like conspiracy theorist bingo as to why you would become a conspiracy theorist.
yeah, it's like
a serial killer bingo, but
yeah, it's like your dream career failed. You started believing in conspiracy theories. Your dad died. You went extra mad. Like, it's all kind of big life events. So, his wife, their daughter, and Deborah Shaw held a press conference where they announced that Icke was the son of the Godhead, interpreting Godhead as the infinite mind. So
see, this is where I started to, put the book down.
And I understand.
Because I can't get my head around this kind of shit. It's like, what's the God mind? What do you mean by the God mind?
What he means is, when he says infinite mind, it means that he sees across all dimensions and all time. Like, the human constraints of time and this world don't hold him down. He can see different dimensions and different times and meditate himself to different times, and he understands the secrets of the universe, etc. That's what he's
exhausted.
On about. Oh, well.
Must be exhausted.
Unless you're talking shit again. So, all of them were wearing turquoise, and David started wearing turquoise exclusively, saying that it was a colour he saw as a conductor for positive energy. So this was known as his turquoise period. Yeah,
it's like a band.
Yeah. So he told reporters that the world was going to end 6 years later in 1997. Spoiler, that didn't happen, obviously.
Yeah, but you hear this all the time. Like the world was meant to have ended. Yeah, Notre Dame, 2012. It's meant to have ended about 1 million times over, and
of course, obviously
that's just to scare people. That's just to scare people into
believing the shit you say. Yeah. So he said that it would start with hurricanes around the Gulf of Mexico and New Orleans. They happen all the time anyway, by the by. Eruptions in Cuba. Again, I think there's volcanic eruptions around Cuba. I'm not sure, but disruption in China. That's fucking vague.
When has there not been disruption in China?
A hurricane in Derry, as in Ireland, and an earthquake on the Isle of Arran. It's so specific.
Was there? Did those two things happen in Derry and Arran?
Not sure. But they're not hotspots for earthquakes and hurricanes. No. Then he said that Los Angeles would become an island. It hasn't.
Not happened.
New Zealand.
Rachel can vouch for that.
She can indeed. New Zealand would disappear, not to my knowledge. I think Lord of the Rings was filmed after this after this proclamation. And the cliffs of Kent would be underwater by Christmas. Definitely not happened. So
Christmas is such a vague term as well. Like the cliffs of Kent are going to be
time. Mr. Icke, when is this going to happen? Christmas.
Before or after the turkey?
Yeah.
Or the Queen's speech.
I
or the lizard
Christmas,
speech, as he would call it.
I must leave. So my planet needs me. So they said that they got the information from voices coming to them and from automatic writing. So automatic writing is just where you move your hand and don't think about what you're going to write.
Yeah, it's
for anyone that doesn't know what it is. Yeah.
Utter horseshit. But going back to the Darren Brown thing, he does automatic writing in one of them, and
really,
with somebody, yeah. And it's that thing of you seeing what you want to see. It's that thing of
you're picking out the details that are convenient.
When you see faces in clouds and things, the brain is tuned in to focus and recognize faces and shapes and words that you know. Mm-hmm. So if you do automatic writing, you can read anything into that.
Yeah, I agree. So
I'm just trying to make people aware that I'm not actually this conspiracy theory nut. I actually love conspiracy theories, but I'm not a nutter.
Rachel loves conspiracy theories, and she's not crazy. She just thinks it's interesting, I think. So after the press conference, David was invited to talk on chat shows, one of them being the Terry Wogan show. So Terry Wogan was on the radio and on TV, and he was like a national treasure, wasn't he, in England?
Yeah, he used to host Children in Need every year,
which was like a big charity thing. But he died a couple of years ago,
yeah,
a little while ago.
Quite a few years ago now.
I would go as far as say he was a national treasure.
He was one of our national treasures.
Yeah, he was really beloved. And on that show, David explained that he was the Godhead, and the audience began to laugh. Rightly so. So
I would have had a little chuckle, sure.
Sure. So David explained that Jesus would have been laughed at too in his day. And he repeated that Britain would soon be devastated by tidal waves and earthquakes. David then said that laughter was the best way to remove negativity. And Wogan replied, "But they're laughing at you. They're not laughing with you." Brutal.
Well done, Wogan.
That's why he's a national treasure. Fucking absolutely brutalised him.
I mean, to be fair, to give David his due there, he's not wrong. Laughter is a very good medicine, and it has been proven to, increase your levels of serotonin, and, they have laughter yoga. But I don't think he was kind of coming at it from that angle.
No, and I also think I come from like the school of Miss Hoover here, from The Simpsons, where she's like, the children are right to laugh at you, Ralph.
Exactly.
So post-interview, David was mobbed with bad press, and in May 1991, police were called to his home after a crowd of 100 youth gathered outside chanting, "We want the Messiah."
He's a very naughty boy.
Yeah, and give us a sign, David. So they were basically just taking the piss outside his house.
Brilliant.
So then the next year, Linda gave birth to the couple's third child, another son, in November 1992.
These poor fuckers getting born into this family.
I know. And then between 1992 and 1994, David wrote 5 books, all through mainstream publishers, which seems fucking crazy, but he's actually pretty popular.
I was going to say, they would know that he had a big following. If he has a big following, it's good for sales, and therefore that's why they would publish him, because they know the books are going to sell. Exactly, and that's the thing, isn't it? Like, when you take a punt on an author like that, publishing a book that's so off the wall, you're going to get 2 camps: the ones that are buying it to sit on their coffee table as like, a fucking hell, have you read this book, it's mental, and the others that are going to follow it. It doesn't matter, no press is bad press. If the books are getting sold and taken off the shelves, then the publishers are making their money, and that's probably, they're very savvy of them to say, let's fucking invest in this guy, because he's either going to get a shitload of followers or he's going to get a shitload of people that want to take the piss out of him. Either way, his book's going to get sold. It's controversial, so it's making money. So in 1992, he published a book called Love Changes Everything, and it's about the origin of the planet with praise for Jesus. Okay, so when I talk you through the books that he wrote, you can see how his opinion builds. Okay, so Love Changes Everything is about the praise for Jesus. Then Days of Decision in 1993 is a summary of his interviews after the 1991 press conference, and he questions the existence of Jesus, but he accepts the existence of Jesus's spirit. So it's getting a little bit more intense. Then in 1993, he publishes an autobiography called In the Light of Experience. And then this was followed by a book called Heal the World, a do-it-yourself guide to personal and planetary transformation. Heal the world for dummies.
Do it yourself. And then in 1994, he released a book called The Robots' Rebellion. Now, this didn't go down well. It was seen as anti-Semitic. So it claims that a plan for world domination is happening by a shadowy secret group, perhaps extraterrestrial. Not sure. And he claims the proof of this was that it was laid out in an 1897 book called The Protocols of the Elders of Zion. This book, obviously not written by him, written in 1897, was a book that was actually written by the Russian secret police. And it was a fake document that revealed a conspiracy by the Jewish people to achieve global domination. So it was basically a piece of propaganda against the Jews.
Right, okay.
So it was revealed as a fake in the 1920s, but it was brought back into circulation by the American far right in the 1950s. So in the 20s, people were like, it's a fake book. It's not real. And then in the 50s, people were like, no, it is. So
well, you can see how the Bible then, wouldn't you? You can see then how the Bible would have followed that same suit. Yeah.
So the Robots Rebellion refers repeatedly to the Illuminati and defines the Illuminati as the brotherhood elite at the top of the pyramid of secret societies worldwide. So David insists that he is not anti-Semitic. He just doesn't agree with Zionists. If anybody doesn't get the difference, I didn't until fairly recently. There's Jewish people, and then there's people that believe that Israel is the Holy Land, and that is Jewish land, and that it should belong to Jews, because Jews across history haven't had a home. But to have that home, they have to displace a lot of Palestinian people. And it's obviously this has been raging for a long time, this war over this land. And a lot of people don't agree with Zionists, who are people that believe that part of Israel belongs to the Jews. So he's saying, I'm not anti-Semitic. I just don't believe in Zion. I don't believe the Zionists are right. But he then goes on to say a lot of stuff to prove that he is anti-Semitic, right? So the Green Party banned him from ever coming back, which is probably a good move because the book was just so badly received. So after that, he just went full fucking mental. And in his next book, it was called The Truth Shall Set You Free. And in that book, it was self-published. Obviously,
of course.
After the Robots Rebellion, nobody would touch him with a barge pole. So it was self-published in 1995 after no more publishing houses would take him on, and it contained questioning of the Holocaust.
Oh right, so we've got a Holocaust denier now, have we?
Yeah, he's moved on to some pretty serious territory, and it suggested that Jews funded the Holocaust by suggesting that the Warburgs, part of the Rothschild Empire, helped to finance Adolf Hitler. I mean,
right?
Why would Adolf Hitler accept money from very rich Jews to kill loads of Jews? It just doesn't make any sense. It's almost like he's being, conspiracy.
Yeah, it's almost like he's being provocative for the sake of being provocative, isn't it? It's like, what's the worst thing I can say?
Yeah, I know what you mean. Like the publishing houses have dropped me, so fuck it, and I'll just say whatever I want.
Yeah. It's like, what's the worst thing I can say? Oh, I know, that Hitler was actually funded by Jewish money.
So he also claimed that schools indoctrinate children with the unchallenged version of events with their use of free copies of the film Schindler's List. Now, I will not sit by and hear Schindler's List badmouthed. That is one of the best fucking films ever.
It's a great film.
Great film.
And having now both been to Auschwitz in February, we can categorically say that
of course it happened.
Of course it happened. And
on a mass scale. It was unbelievable how big those death camps were.
Yeah. I mean,
they were ginormous, and that was only 2 of them, and there were, I think, around 100. I could be wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong, anybody that's listening. But there were loads more than 2.
Oh yeah, I mean that was just one of 3 within Poland, within Krakow.
Exactly.
There was far more than that across Europe, but yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So to even suggest that even when they say that Hitler killed 6 million Jews, I think it probably may have been more, or could have been more, because I think it was more. There's people that could have been just shot and that wasn't recorded. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I was going to say the Nazis did try and destroy a lot of their records, and they probably did succeed in destroying a lot of those records. So we will never know the true number. You're right. It will probably be far more.
And, me and you saw like piles of shoes, piles of hair, piles of personal belongings. And that was, again, a tiny fraction.
Yeah.
I doubt David Icke has ever gone to Poland or seen a death camp.
Well, I was wondering that, and I wondered that about Holocaust deniers. Like, have you ever actually been to a death camp? or a
I
concentration
highly
camp.
doubt they would have, because that's directly challenging their views. So why would you? Because you don't want to hear someone tell you you're wrong.
Yeah,
Birds of a feather stick together, you know?
Yeah, I mean,
it's like me going to a Tory party conference. Like, I'm not going to bother with that, am I?
No, I mean, there is a school of thought to say that you maybe should do, because although you wouldn't believe in it, it gets you and then understand their school of thought. You might not accept it or believe it, but you can kind of understand it. But I think that's very different, because
it takes quite an open
this
mind.
is fact.
Yeah.
This is more to do with a historical fact rather than it is a political belief, which is the two are very kind of intertwined. But this did actually happen, as opposed to this is what we believe in should happen. So it's kind of tomatoes, but also very interlinked in certain ways.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Because no publishing company would touch him, rightly so, he borrowed 15 grand, and this is in 1997, so that's like a lot of money in today's money. He borrowed 15 grand from a friend and started David Icke Books Publishing Company, and he self-published all his books from then on. So in 1997, he met his second wife-to-be, Pamela Lee Richards, in Jamaica. That's just a side note, because it's just to show you that he basically cheated on his wife, ditched the mother of his children. He's quite flighty, romantically.
Misogynistic womanizer, then.
Kind of, yeah. Also,
I wouldn't expect anything less.
Manipulative, because he kind of convinced his first wife to bring in this third person. And she changed her name to fit with his beliefs. So yeah, fuck knows what happened there. But so then in 1999, 2 years later, he released a book called The Biggest Secret. And
that's the book I have.
Yes, this is the lizard book, right? So this is where it all gets very lizardy. So he's gone clear. He's gone fully mad, right? So I know you were saying that you found his book hard to follow, so I've tried to break it down for you.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, so, and for me, really. So this is interesting, because when people say he's anti-Semitic, you can kind of see the lizard thing as an allegory to Jews. So he's saying Jews are inhuman. These people are so rich they're inhuman, and we should rebel against them, which is exactly what Hitler did with the Jews. He said, they're vermin, they're mice, they're rats. So basically,
it's almost like it's a metaphor. Metaphor.
He doesn't truly believe this. It's just a metaphor for his blatant anti-Semitic beliefs.
It's like a smokescreen.
Which I think makes a lot more sense than lizards are on Earth. So right.
So when you basically when he says lizard, he means Jew.
Yeah, he means rich Jew. Okay.
Right.
So in his book, The Biggest Secret, he introduced the idea that many prominent figures are actually half Anunnaki, half human. Anunnaki is a reptilian race from the Draco constellation, which is actually a real constellation in our universe.
Sounds like something from Star Wars.
Yeah, he's been reading a lot of science fiction, much like L. Ron Hubbard, the Scientologist leader. So, that's the book where he started on the lizard crap. And then he and Linda Atherton, who was his first wife, divorced in 2001, and he married Pamela Richards that same year. So that lady that he met in Jamaica. And then, even though that happened, his ex-wife still remained his business manager. There's a weird she's really devoted to him, on a weird level.
Got to get work while you can, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, if he's paying her. Apparently, according to Icke, 30,000 copies of The Biggest Secret were in print. That's actually not that many.
No.
I think, I don't know, J.K. Rowling, it's millions, the Harry Potter books.
Also, all publishers get 6 copies of their own book. So you can knock 6 off of there for a start.
Good knowledge. Good publisher knowledge. So in all his books, so this is kind of an overview of his conspiracy theory. In all his books, David Icke combines discussion about the universe and consciousness and conspiracy theories about public figures being reptilian humanoids and paedophiles. I don't know where paedophiles dropped in. That came from nowhere.
Oh, well, they always crop up.
I think it's because
apparently
calling someone a paedophile is a surefire way to make you hate them. Like, if you don't hate lizards, you'll definitely hate paedophiles. Is basically his thinking.
Yeah,
that's what
I think. Yeah, I think, you know, the whole paedophile thing. It's you're right. It's a surefire way to get people's ears to prick up and listen and be like, we can't have that happening.
Yeah, you'll go, oh, they're lizard people, and someone will go, well, you know, live and let live, live and let lizard, and then he'll go, actually, they're a lizard and they're a paedophile. Well, I'm not having that. That's basically what I feel like. That's what he's done. So, yeah, he claims that an interdimensional race of reptilian beings have hijacked Earth, and a genetically modified human Archon hybrid race of shape-shifting reptilians, who he refers to as the Illuminati. They manipulate events to keep people in fear and control them, and they feed off the resulting negative energy. So you can imagine what a feast COVID-19 was for that theory. Like,
yeah,
he's saying they want to scare you, they want to control you, and it kind of plays right into his hand. So,
well, it didn't shock me when I found out that he neither wore masks nor got the vaccine, nor even abided to the lockdown rules. When that came up on some news feed, I was like, how is that news?
Of course he's not doing it.
Of course he fucking wouldn't.
What an awful, awful man. So he basically he claims that many public figures belong to the Illuminati, you know, such as the royal family and loads of rich families. And he says that they're going to propel humanity towards a global fascist state and an era that will end the freedom of speech. Again, this is very COVID relevant. Yeah, so he's saying that basically, right, in another episode of Transatlantic Crime, I said about the old people that go, oh, we can't say anything anymore. And I was like, well, no, you can't. Because you don't have the God-given right just to be a cunt whenever you want. Like, and exactly. David Icke obviously thinks that he does, along with a lot of other middle-aged white people. He sees the only way to defeat such archontic influence, so archontic is the type of lizard, is for people to wake up to the truth and fill their hearts with love.
I did that years ago.
Mate, I've been asleep for a while. Yeah, I like it that way. He also believes in reincarnation and that other possible worlds exist alongside ours. That's fine. That's not, like, threatening. You can believe in that stuff.
You're mixing your religions a little bit there, David. But
he is a bit all over the shop. He's a bit like Russell Brand. He's also saying he believes in the law of attraction, which is, if you've ever read the book The Secret, it's that if you believe good things are going to happen to you, they will. And if you believe bad things are going to happen to you, they will. Which is fine for privileged people, that if you are born into a poor family where your mum is a crackhead, then there's no thinking yourself out of that. There's a lot to say about believing in yourself, being like, oh, I'm definitely going to get this job. I'm going to get this job. You're more likely to get the job if you say that than I'm definitely not going to get this job. But if you get cancer, it doesn't mean that you thought, I'm going to get cancer, and so you got it. There's a lot of, like, victim blaming in the law of attraction, which I don't really like.
It's the whole positive vibes only thing, isn't it? And it's like,
it's kind of toxic
there's a thing
positivity.
now which is like positive toxicity. That's it, yeah.
Yeah. Critics have accused him of being anti-Semitic and a Holocaust denier, and his theories of reptilians serving as a deliberate code, which is what I explained to you earlier, which makes a lot of sense. You can be a massive racist or a massive anti-Semitic without actually having to say it. And I think that's what he's doing, which is kind of makes sense. So Icke believes that time is an illusion. He thinks there's no past or future and only the infinite now is real.
Well, that's technically true.
That is technically true. He also thinks climate change, saying there's no past isn't true because there is past.
Well, the thing is, it depends on whether or not you believe in the human construct of time.
Oh, see, this is where you feel like you're going mad when you're reading it.
Which is why I put the fucking book down.
Exactly.
Because, one sentence in that book and you're on a fucking tangent. Don't read it when you're fucking stoned, I tell you that. I mean, I was reading it sober. I mean, if you start getting invested in that thing, when you've taken a drug,
I bet he takes
you
a
could get in
lot
all
of
manner
mushrooms.
of trouble.
Yeah. He also thinks that climate change and that 9/11 is a hoax. Again, I think that's the kind of being controversial for the sake of selling books, because he did a whole book about how 9/11 is a hoax.
Yeah, it's what's the word? There's a word for that, isn't there?
Provocative?
Yeah, it's like just being provocative for the sake of it. There's a proper word for it, but I can't remember what it is.
Yeah. In 2008, he separated from his wife, Pamela, that he met in Jamaica, and they divorced in 2011. And then in 2012, he released a book called Human Race Get Off Your Knees, ; The Lion Sleeps No More. And so here,
what are these book titles?
He goes into a whole other level of mental in this.
It's like he's put random words into a book title generator online and gone, what can I call my next novel?
What was that band that, remember we had a list of like band names and one of them was like, Titties Come Hither. Like, that sounds like a David Icke book.
Yeah, well there's lots of band names on our band name list, but yeah, Titties Come Hither was one of them, like, yeah. But it does definitely, because Get Off Your Knees, The Lion Sleeps Tonight, is that what you said it was called?
That is a classic.
And who needs a book title that long?
It's kind of like a sort of academic essays have titles like that. Like semicolons at the end. But anyway, so in that book,
he's not writing an academic essay. He's writing.
No, he's not. He left school at 15, yeah, to be a goalie, and he didn't even succeed at that. So the shittest of all the football positions, and he didn't even do well at that. So
sorry to any goalies out there, but it is crap.
It is rubbish. So he identified the moon and later Saturn as the source of holographic experiences broadcast by the reptiles that humanity interprets as reality. So what he's basically saying is that our reality isn't real. It's broadcast to us by the reptiles from the moon and Saturn.
Right, I'm going to shoot off.
Can
you see now why I put this fucking book down? It was like, one, we were in lockdown and I felt like I was going mad anyway, and I started reading this and I was like, this is just tipping me over the edge. I can't take this.
Right, okay, so this is the last bit.
I thought I was going to end up in Broadmoor by the end. I got 10 pages in and I was ready for Broadmoor.
We have an episode on Broadmoor, by the way, Google it. Just a little plug for myself there. So he's famous for his long lectures, a bit like this one. So not
like the ones you give me on a long car journey.
So one lasted 7 hours in Brixton and another one was 11 hours in Wembley. He spoke for 11 hours.
Jesus. I mean, I can't even talk for 11 minutes.
We've done quite well.
Well, I mean, continuously.
Yeah.
But I mean, to be honest, though, some of our car journeys can be a bit like that. When I'm trapped and
they are like a David Icke lecture.
Yeah.
By 2006, he had spoken in at least 25 countries. I've probably spoken in 25 countries. That's really non-specific. What, to an audience?
Well, that's what I mean. Like, was there actually an audience at these, or was it just like a couple of mad people that they dragged in off the street? You know, when like a West End show isn't selling very well and they have to go outside and get people to come in. Were they like, please come and see David Icke? He's got this amazing theory about the universe and the moon. Like, no, literally, even the tramps are like, fuck off, I know about him. He's a nutter.
the tramp with a massive trolley and a fucking tinfoil hat on goes, piss off, he's mad. his website was gaining 600,000 hits a week. Again, I don't think that's a lot. And by 2011, his books have been translated into 11 languages. Yeah, by him publishing them when no one fucking wants to read them.
Are they Earth languages, or were some of them like
lizard hissing?
Yeah, the Squillock language of Sector 5 of the Titan.
Archons. So on the 4th of November 2020, he was permanently banned from Twitter. Way! You and Donald Trump, off your fuck.
Yeah. What date was that? Was he banned?
4th of November 2020.
Oh, blimey, so quite recently then.
Yeah. So he was banned from Twitter permanently for spreading COVID misinformation. He was stating that the vaccines were gene therapy. They don't touch your DNA. If you were a fucking scientist or had half a brain in your nut, you would know that. He also made false claims, such as suggesting that 5G mobile phone networks were linked to the spread of the virus. He also claimed that a Jewish group had been involved somehow. Like, really?
Oh, yeah, to get the Jews in there, didn't he?
Oh, yeah, plus...
Poor fucking Jews, I've got to have a pop at them.
Plus the Jews. Like, what?
Yeah. How can I slip the Jews in here?
He's been a headliner at anti-lockdown rallies at Trafalgar Square in London, where coronavirus conspiracies, including linking 5G to COVID-19, was suggested, and also that the pandemic was a hoax. And the last bit, he is now 70 years old. So hopefully he'll be dead soon and slip off to another universe where I can stop listening to his bollocks.
I mean, you can definitely see the progression there of what he...
Oh, massively.
You know, it's textbook. A person that had a career, had a dream, it got crushed because of an illness, because of something out of their control. It's all about control. He's obviously got this mad idea of how he wanted his life. It didn't pan out.
His dad died.
He wants to gain control back, and therefore he's blaming anything other than his own circumstances and seeking out.
Also, how important do you feel banging on for 7 hours and people actually listening to you? He's climbed his way into a position of power, and he's claiming like he's got this he's got a god complex. He's saying he's
absolutely
the son of God, and it's like, what the fuck? You're some wiener from Leicester that got kicked off of being a goalie for having arthritis.
Well, it goes back to what I said about him being a journalist and then being a spokesperson for the Green Party. Like, those two things, they rely on you having a good grasp of language, of being, the psychology behind.
You have to be quite charming.
People. Yeah, you've got to be, you've got to be able to have a way of delivering and dictating that can bring people in, and that's obviously
you've got to be quite likeable, I suppose.
Well, yeah, and that combined with the fact that he has these obviously very strong ingrained beliefs now, probably does mean that he can bang on for 12 hours about something and people will listen to him, because you're right, it's like a Sermon on the Mount type situation. It's like a Messiah type figure. Because if you believe in it, you want a leader. Even these people that say that they believe that the world is run by, secret organisations in the Illuminati, they still
lizards.
Almost kind of have these little mini leaders within their organisation, within those kind of sects.
Someone
and
to
David
admire,
Icke is one
someone
of them.
to follow, someone to tell them that they're right and that it's okay to be a cunt, basically.
Yeah. Exactly.
Well, with that was conspiracy theories.
Well, thank you
a long
for
old
having
episode.
me.
Oh, I had a great time. Thanks for coming on.
It was great.
Yeah, we should do it again soon. We'll think of something else mental to talk about.
Well, I've always got my other interests of the paranormal and the supernatural, and I can
There's
guarantee I can find a crime that's connected
magazines
to those.
hanging around this house.
Yeah, I'll dust them off and see what I can pull out my arse.
Watch a few more X-Files. I've already briefed you on what the sign-off is. Without further ado, bye.
Thanks for listening to Transatlantic Crime this week. If you liked what you heard, please rate, review, and subscribe.
And if you'd like to follow us on social media, you can find us on Twitter at TransatCrimePod, Instagram at Transatlantic Crime, and on Facebook with Transatlantic Crime Podcast.
Thanks, bye.